If you buy a house in Fairfax County, don't expect your kids to go to that school 10 years from now. We want to bus your kids further because we think that demographic mix is important. But I've warned Langley, sorry, a big chunk is going to get reboundaried. I've already told them that. We have seismic issues across the county, and we know it. It is this board's responsibility to tee this up for the next board. Go out front on the fact that we may have major boundary changes in 10 years.
Alerting the community as gently as we can, because, I'm not sure I want to hear about it for the next 10 years either. But I've warned Langley, sorry, a big chunk is going to get reboundaried. I've already told him that. One Fairfax needs to be in there because it is the overall guiding principle.
Pausing to make sure that we look through boundaries through a One Fairfax lens.
To make sure that we are honoring with One Fairfax.
How those priorities reflect the One Fairfax.
One Fairfax happened, and I'm superintendent, and I don't believe we've had a One Fairfax lens for the boundary process. Take the spirit of today, which is the One Fairfax lens, some sort of prioritization, looking at One Fairfax to help guide me, and that was just a broad policy, but it was a policy around equity.
Demographic integration and
with socioeconomic diversity.
Demographic diversity.
Of a focus on equity in each of our schools.
To using program placement as a way to improve diversity. Equity-based scoping and comprehensive discussion about boundaries.
Change the socioeconomic composition of the school.
We may say things like, we want to bus your kids further because we think that demographic mix is important. If you buy a house in Fairfax County, don't expect your kids to go to that school 10 years from now. People who walk into the boundary change meeting and don't even have kids in the school yet, and they want to argue with us about whether or not their house should be boundaried in or out. A young guy who didn't even have kids in the school system yet come to me and say, well, I spent $20,000 more on my house than I would have a block away because it's in this school. And I had to tell him, I said, our responsibility is to do what's best for kids, not to cover your real estate bet by concentrating socioeconomics in that school. A geographic proximity, even though we feel in our hearts like it's very important, it's just not going to be possible anymore in this county that's growing so quickly, where land is so expensive, things are just going to change. And
our last speaker is Tom Cranmer. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Board of Supervisors, for staying so late with prospects of rain. It did start raining today and this evening as I drove over here. I'm Thomas Cranmer. I live in Great Falls. I have distributed to all of you, or it's being distributed, my paper about the situation with the schools and the great uncertainty that's being created by this talk about redistricting and basically the terrible school scores that have occurred. As a result of this uncertainty and the bad schools and the middle class leaving Fairfax County, is that my real estate taxes have been flat for the last 3 years. Now, certainly real estate taxes have a big effect on Fairfax County, and to destroy the basic infrastructure with policies that are just uncertain with this redistricting of the schools is going to be terrible. The school board has shown a great predilection to trying to basically destroy excellence. And as the attachment to my paper, one page lists the school scores that you've seen before, the ACT school scores for readiness for college. The results are miserable for the lesser schools like Mount Vernon, and half of the students in Fairfax counties can't even pass the test to be ready for college. Now, this effort to try to destroy the schools, and especially Thomas Jefferson, which I've talked about before you, is a terrible thing. Where what you're trying to do basically is drive things down to a mediocre level for the schools. I have one relative who used to teach in the Fairfax schools. My mother was a substitute teacher. I understand a lot about schools. I went to 4 different high schools in my life, and both in California and Washington State. And so I've seen a lot around the United States, and I'm just appalled at this uncertainty. So thank you very much for considering my remarks, and you can read them along with a paper that I've substituted about busing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cranmer. Supervisor Faust?
Thank you. Tom? I just want to say that, you know, there is unquestionably a lot of concern in the community because long-established relationships with Langley School, people think they are going to be changed. And, you know, it would be a school board decision to do that, and there is absolutely no plan. They're not talking about doing that. We've been, they're looking at their policy for redistricting, but, you know, there's a couple of political candidates, basically, who are spreading this rumor, and they're driving it. Don't shake your head, because I know for a fact. They're driving this rumor, and the rumor itself will cause property values to go down. Because the facts are not in this, do not support your position. Here are the facts. School board, Drainsville school board member has absolutely no consideration of a redistricting of Langley, of Great Falls from Langley. There are 3 high schools that serve that general area. Herndon High School is at capacity. Langley High School is way below capacity, and McLean High School is way over capacity. So there is no incentive to move kids from Langley High School, way below capacity, to either a school that is way above capacity or a school is at and anticipated to be to grow above capacity. So, you know, you can continue to spread the rumors, and the candidates can continue to carry this flag, but you're hurting the residents of Great Falls by doing it, and you're hurting, you know, the school system by doing it. So that's all I'm going to say. It's not a fact. What you're doing is not based on fact, and you're hurting people in the process. So I would ask you to stop.
Thank you, sir, and thanks for the clarification.
I appreciate it, Tom, because I know you are a smart guy, and I know you always come in here armed with the facts, and I will have this conversation with you, and I would enjoy doing it.
Why didn't they move kids from McLean to Langley?
I'm not.
Why are they insisting on passing a boundary change policy